What does it take to build genuine professional connections, and why does it feel so difficult? Today, Bella Cipolla takes us behind the scenes of PONND, the platform seeking to change how we connect professionally. From leaving high school to pursue ballet to later pivoting into entrepreneurship, Bella shares what the early stages of a startup are really like, how she navigates blurred personal professional boundaries, and why PONND feels so right for the professional world of the 2020s. Welcome to the Anti-Work Podcast, a podcast where we chat to founders and professionals about staying sane while building a business. It's brought to you by Recess, a sustainable Aussie office furniture brand that's all about making work feel more like play. I'm Alessandra, and I'm your host. Thank you so much, Bella, for being here.
Thank you
on
for
the
having
podcast. So Recess is all about making work feel like play. So to kick off all the episodes, we always like to start with some chill icebreaker questions. So I would love to know, what was your favorite recess snack at school?
Yeah, so I loved Tiny Teddies. They were my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
Also LCM bars.
Yeah. Which LCM bars?
The plain one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. And are you a morning or night person? When are your like peak work hours and peak fun?
So I would say I'm definitely more of an evening person. So I try and structure my day around that. I tend to start a little bit later and I get a lot of my most productive work done at nighttime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, have you always been like a night person?
It really, ebbs and flows, but at the moment, definitely more of a nighttime person.
Yeah, nice. And are you a minimalist desk person or a maximalist?
Yes, I am a minimalist person at heart. Remy's laughing over there, but I can't do anything with clutter around me. So I just need everything like put away in its place to be able to really concentrate.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people. I am like that. I can't focus if there's stuff around.
Type A personality through
Yeah,
and through.
I want to dive into kind of the basics about your business, your career, and kind of how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah.
So for those who might not be familiar, could you please explain PONND and what it is?
So PONND is a system for professionals and communities to track the networks and make better connections. So we're creating a space for professionals to be able to show up in their most authentic self, and we're providing the tools for communities to be able to not miss the gaps within their networks.
PONND obviously is very new, so I'm curious about the inspiration behind it. Was there like a particular story or an event that kind of sparked the idea?
Yeah, so I always say that PONND is a culmination of many things, but it's definitely stemmed from a personal journey of mine. So I've had a very nonlinear career path. I've kind of jumped around and done a bunch of different things. But when it came to expressing myself professionally and putting myself on a platform, I felt that nowhere really did me justice. I felt like I had a lot of value to offer, but didn't come across serious enough, or I wouldn't be taken seriously. So there's that. And then also in my past business, a graduate approached me and she said, I would love to bring you on as a client. And she was an accountant. She's like, I'm really wanting to create a portfolio of clients whose stories and journeys and businesses I resonate with personally. And that was a bit of a light bulb moment for me, because I was like, wait, this next generation and even my generation are approaching work completely differently. It's more driven by identity and values. And I don't feel like there was any platform really surfacing that or enabling space to have those kind of conversations. So those are kind of like the two pillars to PONND.
And from your perspective, was there like a gap in the industry that you felt uniquely like positioned to address through something like PONND, and maybe because of your like non-linear career experience, you sort of wanted to bring something together like that?
Yeah, definitely. I love people and I love the stories behind people. And I think that the most incredible collaborations and businesses stem from understanding and really knowing someone. The gap there was not being able to surface the things that make you you and the things that would draw people towards you beyond like a resume, a CV, or a list of skills. So I definitely felt, from my background being more creative, and then also my co-founder's background being more of like a corporate background, we had two completely different lenses that we were approaching this from, but both of our skills quite nicely complemented.
What about, can you tell me a bit more about kind of why you decided to start PONND together, and maybe that conscious decision to start a business with someone else as opposed to just doing it on your own?
I have founded two businesses in the past myself, and I made the decision going into this because I knew it would be a completely different beast versus the businesses that I had previously founded, that I needed someone. And Remy was the first and only person that came to mind. Remy and I have known each other for 7 years and I trust her implicitly. Like, she is such a solid person. So I was like, it's a no-brainer to go into business with her. And then from our different lenses, she's got more of a corporate marketing background and I've got more of a creative background. I felt like it was a great place for us to kind of jump in and build PONND from.
And I guess creativity seems a big part of your personal identity. You were a ballerina in New York. You launched your own jewelry brand, and then you were also a graphic designer. How did all of these things kind of all lead to starting PONND?
That was definitely the starting point, was that struggle with my own putting my stamp on like the professional world, especially when like, you know, corporate is kind of where it's at. But I think for PONND, and the through line is all design based. I'm a very aesthetically driven person. I wouldn't say in a superficial sense. I think like aesthetic and design and having a good eye for things is so important. I think a lot of, you know, our favorite companies all have that design kind of blueprint down to, it goes unnoticed, but I think tech as well is such a place where design is often looked over, and we wanted to make a difference with PONND being a design-led kind of business, making it a really comfortable, albeit digital space for people to actually sink their teeth in and want to spend time in. It's like we wanted to harness the beauty of a fabulous co-working space, but bring it into a digital format. So yeah, long story short, but I think the design and aesthetic has been my through line through all of my career. I have no university degree. When I moved to New York, I was there for 4 years and then COVID happened. I immediately came back to Australia and the whole kind of performing arts world had shut down. So I was left with very few options, and I was 21 at the time, which is quite, you know, being 21 is a lot. But I made the decision to pivot, and I felt like the only option at the time was to do something for myself. So naturally gravitated to something creative. I started making jewelry at my mum's kitchen table. My friends encouraged to sell the jewelry, and one thing led to another, and it became a really, really big business, one that I probably wasn't prepared for at the time, but just kind of took everything in my stride. And that's just kind of how I've continued on in my career, just taking things as they come. I love learning. I love absorbing new skills and just being open-minded.
PONND won the South by Southwest pitch for future of work and education. What did that moment kind of mean to you?
Yeah, that moment was huge. I'm so proud of Remy. That was PONND's first pitch ever. So it was a really wild experience. Lots of nerves, but also lots of excitement. Off the back of that, we've met some incredible people. We've had some amazing conversations. It was definitely a big win for us. But I think the biggest thing to date has just been the community and network that we have grown is like unbelievable. Our early adopters are some of the most beautiful people that I know. Like, I'm so excited and happy, and that just feels like such an accomplishment to have cultivated such an extraordinary community so early on.
Oh, that sounds really exciting. So given this is the Anti-Work podcast, I want to talk about boundaries, because it seems like a bit of a buzzword, especially in the last, I think, 5 years. But as an early stage founder, what do boundaries kind of mean to you?
I think when you say boundaries, immediately my mind goes to work-life balance. And I could be the first to tell you that I have atrocious work-life balance at the moment. But what I've found is that the more I kind of listen to myself and stop fighting my personality, I can actually place boundaries in spaces that don't drain my energy. So for instance, I'm naturally quite an introverted person. I don't like big groups of people. I can't attend back-to-back events. So that is where I place my boundaries, and that really works for me. But in terms of work-life balance, I have no advice at all. I think that will come into play later on, but at the moment I'm really fueled by what we're building.
There is that saying, you know, that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life
Yeah.
kind of vibe. So I think like that's probably another part that maybe people don't, especially if you work in corporate, don't see that.
Yeah.
This also isn't your first time building something. And while it's different to Pond, you previously started La Robe Club.
Yes.
I'm curious to whether going through the process once has already changed how you approach work, your boundaries, and your own capacity when it comes to Pond.
I'm really fortunate to have started 2 businesses in the past. And as I said, I went into my first one knowing absolutely nothing. And I learned so much from the most basic and still really boring things, from like tax and accounting, which I still hate doing, but are necessary. And then just processes, and also how I best work and best operate. I think the biggest difference between those businesses and what I'm doing now is that I'm not doing it alone. So Remy and I made the conscious decision early on to set up infrastructure and structures and processes. We really wanted to set Pond up how we want it to continue. So as soon as we bring on new hires or, I don't know, scale, all those processes are in place and we're used to it. So that's been really great. But that's probably the biggest learning, because my 2 previous businesses, it was very much like, not I do what I want, but
Yeah.
I could be more flexible there.
Yeah. Substack has also been a powerful tool for you to build community and expand into Pond's universe online. And I was having a look at your Substack before. I like how you're telling kind of that story. What made you decide to do this, and how's the response been so far by choosing Substack?
Yeah, we saw Substack as a great medium to kind of just start throwing ideas out there. A lot of our wedge or target audience lives there. A lot of portfolio workers, creatives, freelancers. So we just wanted to start freely writing about what our vision and mission was and see if there was any pickup, and there was. And I think with long form media you can be quite experimental, so a lot of the pieces on there are very much streams of consciousness and, you know, mini rants and just, you know, throwing stuff out there and seeing what sticks and what doesn't. And we were lucky to grow quite quickly and find a really solid community through Substack. And since then we've been able to take that long form media and distill it into short form media like TikTok and Instagram a lot easier, with our brand tone of voice and with all of those missions and visions and all of that.
Yeah. In a similar vein too, by kind of sharing this process online, what are your thoughts on building publicly while being in the early stages of a startup?
Yeah, so I think for Remy and I, it was a bit of we spoke at length about this because it is such a vulnerable thing to do, especially being so early. I think the risk and reward, you can fail really badly in public, or you can, you know, be a source of inspiration. I think TikTok and Instagram are a different beast entirely. I think you're susceptible to so much more judgment, whereas like Substack, we immediately kind of found our tribe, found our people. Didn't feel as confronting or vulnerable. But yeah, building in public is it's a very personal decision, but our voices were, you know, we needed to use them. So it was just, a decision we made, and we're really happy with the one that we made. Yeah.
Nice. On that note of founder-led content and sort of sharing your story, the early stages of a startup can feel closely tied to your identity and personal life at times. Have you felt that happening, and what boundaries, if any, have you been able to implement to maintain a healthy relationship with the business?
Yeah, I think building something that is so closely tied to my own personal journey, it comes with a lot of emotion. And I always say that I'm building from a place of empathy and understanding. So it is really hard to detach personally and emotionally. I'm still figuring that all out. Being, you know, a startup founder, everyone always says it's an absolutely wild journey, and it is. I think the first couple of months we were like, wow, this is so great. It's so not easy, but just enjoyable because you're a bit naive. But then, you know, the longer you're in it, you are really hit with the highs and lows, and they come super frequently and often back to back. So juggling that has been a new challenge. I think the best thing is just having Remy as a co-founder, and we're going through the exact same things together. However, she's more type E, I'm more type A. We balance each other out so nicely that you never feel alone.
Yeah, that was going to be our next question. Is what are the benefits of having a co-founder?
Yeah. No, I think it's just bouncing off each other and knowing that if I'm having a 50% day, she can carry my load and vice versa. We also have that inbuilt friendship. We've known each other for 7 years. So we have the foundation set, which I think is really fortunate.
Yeah. Oh, that's really lovely. It's really nice. Do you have like any kind of strategies that you implement to like maintain your friendship so that way, so you're not always talking about like work?
I think we have a healthy dose of work and also personal life chat throughout the day. We celebrate the wins no matter how big or small. So we'll always go out for a cheeky wine or, go for a walk. We spend time with each other on the weekends, and we try and keep work chat to a minimum, but we definitely make time for each other outside of.
Yeah. Are there any kind of personal like strategies or routines that you kind of implement to make sure that you can show up for Remy and also for POND?
I find movement is a big one for me. I think coming from a dance background, I was active 7 days a week, and now I'm tied to a desk, which is great. I wouldn't have it any other way. But having those moments throughout the day where I can move my body, going to the gym or Pilates, it's all, the typical stuff. But I honestly think it just takes that mental load away and provides the clarity.
And so moving forward, where do you see POND in the next few years?
Yeah, so the long-term vision for POND, it's slightly abstract, and people who know us know that, fits. But we just want to empower professionals to really harness, their most authentic professional self and give them the tools to really explore and collaborate deeper than they ever have before, and show up just as they want to show up.
Are you focused, I mean, I probably kind of already know the answer to this, but are you focused on scaling or are you prioritizing a lifestyle business?
Yeah, we are definitely focused on scaling, but I think we are doing that with intention.
Yeah.
So I know to be a startup, you need to move with speed, and I don't know what it is, break things and move quickly. But we took actually a breath 3 months ago and went back to the drawing board, and we're like, you know what? Let's not subscribe to this model. We've got our community, we've got, the bones. Let's just do this with as much intention as possible. And we've actually felt way more grounded and being able to move at a much more rapid pace through that mindset. Again, it is about empowering professionals and communities, but we want to be a household name. We want POND to be the go-to when you meet someone at an event and they pull out their phone. It's like, let's connect on POND. That'd be epic. But yeah, I think we are still figuring that all out as well. We do have the overarching vision, but things change weekly at the moment. How do you, and maybe this is a tricky one to answer, but how do you define success for POND in maybe the next 6 to 12 months? We are in a bit of a growth phase at the moment. So we're about to take on our first round of funding, which is really exciting. We are also growing the team. So we're bringing on our first external hire, which is also massive. And then it's just heads down. We will be launching publicly sometime next year, early. So all really exciting milestones. What advice would you give to someone who wants to start their own business, whether with someone else or on their own? For me, it would be just go for it. Start small, because you can always scale. And that's regardless if it's a D2C consumer brand or a tech company. I think starting small and starting intentional is really important. Do as much research as possible and just give it a go. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? What advice do you have for founders when it comes to setting boundaries or protecting their mental health? Like I said before, I think it's just figuring out what works best for you, what are really your non-negotiables, and setting those boundaries around them to protect your peace of mind is probably my best advice. And then also being realistic. Some weeks are going to be better than others. And sometimes, work takes priority, but then sometimes life takes priority as well. So it's just being flexible with yourself as well, and also being forgiving. Yeah, lovely.
And lastly, where can our listeners find you or find Pond?
Yes, you can join our waitlist for all updates at pond.world and then across socials as well at pond.world.
Yep. TikTok,
TikTok,
Instagram,
Substack.
Substack.
Yep.
Lovely.
All
Thank
the
you
places.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Bella for joining us on today's episode of the Anti-Work podcast. And thank you for tuning in. This show is produced by Centennial World Podcast Network. We'll be back next week with more conversations on work, play, and everything in between.